Welcome to the Don Pod, the supporters podcast. Here's your hosts, Sam and Nate.
3, 2, 1, yeah!
It's not pretty. Wasn't always good to watch, but the Essendon get the job done with an 8-goal third quarter over the North Melbourne Football Club, winning by 40 points, 16-10, 106 to 10-6, 66. Hitting record 15 minutes after the final siren, never a good option, but we'll see how we go. Welcome back to the Don Pod. Sam, joined by Nathan. How are you? I mean, I've been talking to you for the last 2 hours, but
I'm a bit pissed, to be honest. That not drunk, but a bit pissed off with the that game and that result and that the way we played, and I just thought it was shit house, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like,
let's get the.
I know we're going to be positive. We're second, but God, that was shit house.
Let's get the upbeat stuff out the way.
You do all the good stuff.
We're second on the ladder.
Mhm. Our percentage is back over 100.
Our percentage is 103, I think it was.
Yep, something like that.
103.6, I want to say. Ben Mackay needs one more game to tie his wins at North Melbourne.
Career wins. He's
Career.
Yep. He gets to do it if everything goes well on in the next
week.
game.
Dreamtime?
Dreamtime game. That's it. Sorry, maybe I'm pissed.
I'm going to struggle with the words for this one because it's really hard. It's really hard when last week there's so many good things to say, and it's really hard when I really honestly don't have a lot of good things to say. So,
well, just before Sam asked me for my 3-2-1s, and I was like, oh well, there's one that I can think of, but the other, there's, no one really I thought played.
Yeah,
game that you go, phew.
So 4 goal to 2 first quarter, 3 goal to 4 second quarter their way, and then 8 goal to 2 third quarter, and then 1 goal to 2 last quarter. It was not entertaining viewing. I reckon we had about 10 minutes in the third quarter where we put them to the sword, and fair enough, that's probably a tick in that we can do it and did it quickly. That's an asset to have.
Yep.
But the rest of it we'll talk about was a bit shit, to be honest with you. So I'll do the numbers and we'll get into it and get it done. Goal scorers, Big Pete with 4, playing on a first gamer, Guelphy 3, Stringer 2, and then Sardist, Perkins, Merritt, Langford, Jones, Gresham, and Elwyn Davey Jr. 1 each. Leading disposal getters, very low possession game, Martin 27, Caldwell 25, and McGrath 23. So not a huge possession game for our boys. Obviously, Darcy Parish are late out with calf tightness, I believe is what was reported, and Nicholas Cox yesterday out with an illness, replaced by Shield and Sartis. Respectively, it's the right word. It really is hard. Like, it's not one, we're recording it so soon after because it's just habit now, Sunday night, do the pod.
Yeah, that's when we do it. Like to do them.
It is not one I would have come home and watched the replay.
No, God, no. I could have probably left it at half time and just checked the scores at the end of the game. But we won it. Thank God.
You wanted to go and do your gardening about 3 minutes into the first quarter.
Well, it was
I don't blame
atrocious
you.
start. Like we were just nowhere near it. We're getting killed in the ruck, killed in the clearances.
It's a funny game.
First few goal and first few scoring shots. I'm like, oh fuck me, we're ordinary.
It's a funny sport because we won by 40 points and we're upset.
Well, we won by 40 points against a team that is on the bottom of the ladder, has won 3 games of football in 2 years, and we think that we're second on the ladder and we think we're at the bit, but we're only second on the. Are we only second on the ladder because we just played shit teams? Like that's the thing I keep going back to. Yeah,
that's why we play 23 games in a season. We'll find the answer to that question eventually. Not next week, I don't think, but
because I was genuinely up about the GWS thing.
Yeah, same. And then they lose to Bulldogs.
This game and you go, well, fuck me. Like they had an opportunity to boost their percentage, fill their boots, is an old expression. Like really, Peter should have kicked 10. But Guelphy could have kicked 6 or 7. Really,
Langford didn't kick one until right at the end.
Langford got given one.
Yes,
that
very
the
fortunate.
Ground that landed in his chest.
Yeah.
He was beaten clearly by his player all day.
So mention right. 15 touches, 9 marks, 11 hitouts, and 4 goals. 2 was, in terms of AFL fantasy, number 1 for the Essendon Football Club. At least I didn't check North. Honestly, it's at one point I commented to you that he was rucking better against Sherry than Goldstein was. We'll get into this in more depth, but the ruck work and the clearances were an abomination this week. Guelphy, as you said, 14 touches, 3 goals, 3. Missed 1 or 2 ones he probably should have kicked. I've got Perkins there, 22 touches and 6 tackles. Good game from him. We really got excited in the third quarter. He got the ball in the wing and sort of looked inside and hit the target, and Caldwell, I think, hit a target inside 50 as well.
That was probably the best play of football. There was maybe two bits of play. Passage of football that we saw. There was 2 of them, I reckon, where we moved it from the back line to the forward line nicely and set up a shot on goal. Don't worry about if they kick the goal or not, but
the passage of play preceding
the passage of play is what it's against. Again, the bottom fucking team. We should be chewing them up.
And Caldwell, 25 touches, 9 clearances, team high, and 5 tackles. So
he was great.
Probably best on my humble opinion. It was a hard game to really give votes on or pick players out, because you look at someone like Martin, 27 touches, kicked it out in the full. His disposals really letting him down at the minute. Hard to get too carried away about his game. And then it falls away so quickly. Like normally you look at disposals as a guide. If they've had 30, then you look more into it. Or if they've had...
Well, Stuz had a shocker, to be honest.
Yeah, he wasn't
had a shocker.
Brilliant. Rolled his ankle, Durham, so...
Yeah, so...
Hopefully right next week.
He didn't play much of that last quarter, but before then he hadn't done much. Goldstein I thought was ordinary. Our midfield, Merritt didn't do a lot. We didn't have Parrish, which... I still think you could see how that hurt us, because that clearances were Stringer had to go in there a lot and work hard, and I thought he played pretty well actually. Stringer, he would be probably somewhere in my top 4 or 5. He kicked a couple, had some clearances. So, but geez, it was just a concerning game.
It's one of those ones that in 6 weeks' time we'll look back and go, doesn't matter, we won and got 40-point win and we're fine, or we'll look back and go, yeah, the alarm bells were ringing at that point. And I will say a little bit, it's a little bit of growth still, because last week we beat them by 1 point. Last year it was 1 point and 9 points or something. So even to play poorly and beat them by 40, and they should be improving too. They can't possibly have gone backwards.
I don't know who they're missing. I think they dropped players this week. I don't think they were...
they lost one of their draftees. McKercher.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He had a...
But again, he's a first-year player.
But he's a first-year player. You can't... That's not your best... Well,
he shouldn't be your best player.
Their first-year player was their best player because he won their best and first.
Yeah.
That's the sort of situation they're in.
It is a funny thing with North, because we've won, I think, now the last 11 against them. Symbolic of them being dreadful for a long time. That's... fair enough. But they seem to match up well against us. I don't understand what it is, how we can go from playing GWS last week, who have, again, there's a little asterisk on this now because of their game against the Dogs. Very good midfield, very talented list, good players everywhere. And then you come up against North, who really, if they're winning a game of football, it's on youthful exuberance.
Yep. And just to go back to the Langford one. So Langford, was... Well, I think we both gave him best on last week, didn't we?
You did. I did.
Around the mark. But he had a massive influence on the game. He kicked 4 goals against, the best 2 defenders in the competition.
That change that you were very...
And made GWS change to their, even better. Taylor went over to him in the last quarter. Yet in this game, he would have had 5 touches and looked ordinary. And I'm like, I can't have that. I need us to be better against bad teams, because for too long Essendon has been not able to flog a team.
It's the put the foot down mentality that...
Exactly. And it still hasn't developed.
A couple of years ago, when did we last play finals? 21? Against the Dogs? Was it?
Yep. Yeah.
It was, the talk is always, it's not a brand of football that stacks up in finals.
Yep.
I think we've got a brand of football now that will stack up in finals, but... You've got to have a mentality that will stack up in finals.
Yep. And
I had a look. I was looking for something else yesterday, and I looked through all the finals from last year. Every single score was 80 or below, right? So I thought, tick, that's really good. But there's still that mental aspect. If we finish 5th and we're playing 8th, and we go in thinking, shit, we should win, we're playing 8th spot, it's that same sort of mentality that you've got to be killer.
Yeah.
You've got to want to kick 10 goals in the first quarter. And you very... aptly mention that we kicked 4 goals in next to no time against Collingwood, yet North Melbourne get the jump on us.
Even like in the third quarter, so we kick 8 goals to 2. Okay, so we've had a bad half the first half. Fair enough. That happens.
Yep.
That's okay. You kick 8 goals to 2 in the third quarter, you get the game back on your own terms. And what happens at the start of the fourth, they come out and kick the first goal, and then nearly the second one too. I can't remember. But that's what I'm really frustrated. I'm like, that's when we should have said, okay, let's win this by 60,
Let's
80,
put
70
the foot
points.
down.
Yeah,
Because clearly, third quarter, they did something that worked.
We tried.
Keep
That's
doing
what we
it.
did in the third quarter.
Right, and the
whereas in the last
changed.
quarter, again, you saw players not really committing to the contest, not really committing to the chase. And they're like, well, we're up by enough. It will win this game. They're not going to come back. We'll get the 4 points. We
Bit
move
of self-preservation.
Yeah, they didn't want to. Maybe they didn't want to injure themselves and all that sort of stuff. Now, that's well and good if you're a good football team. I'm fully supportive of that if you were the Richmond of the day and the Geelong of the day and the Hawthorn. But hate to tap someone on the shoulder and say, no, that ain't us yet.
We've got no points in the bank. No one trusts us. No one believes that we're any good, even our own supporters. So, I mean, not that football's about proving anyone wrong, but that should be a pretty good motivator to go out there and go, we're better than you, North Melbourne. Right now, we are so much better than you.
Yep.
Cop a fucking 10-goal loss.
And it should be Langford saying, well, I want to get into the top 3 of the Coleman. Or White saying, I want to kick a bag of 10. Like, that's what I want today. I want a bag of 10 today. Boys, just kick it to me.
Pete was playing on a debutant, and no disrespect, but I mean, Pete kicked 4 goals too. He had a very good game.
Dropped a lot of marks earlier.
We commented on that, didn't we?
We've talked about Peter Wright's very good at marking the ball outside 50. Inside 50, those hands seem to shudder a bit.
He just seems to run under the ball a bit, and it's bizarre. He needs a psychologist to be like, Pete, whenever you take a mark, just pretend you're on the wing. You won't drop one. Maybe
it's more speed up in the wing one, like when he's taking more steps.
Maybe it doesn't matter on the wing because it's not in front of goal. If he takes
they're so important, those marks on the wing.
Yeah, I know, but if he takes a mark in front of goal, he then has to kick the goal. He's thinking about maybe the next bit. Yeah, anyway.
So well, though. Now, Essendon did win, just in case you've come late to this podcast.
So I'm really glad we have conversations like this, to be honest, because we preach it's how you play. Well, and this is important, that when we play well and lose, that's our angle. So when we play poorly and win, that should still be our angle.
Exactly, yep. And it's the fact that I think we have to be honest with ourselves and say that we were shit. And luckily we played a shit team and it didn't hurt us.
And we were able to put together 10 good minutes of football, and that was really enough to make it comfortable enough in the end.
Yep.
It's a very low-quality game of football. And I'm sure if we were a North Melbourne podcast, I would be sitting there going, they worked their asses off, North. They had a couple of kicks coming out of their back half that they just sprayed out on the full, and you go, that is so poor. Because uncontested, it's very simple things as an AFL footballer you should not be doing. I think Larkey dropped a absolute soda of a mark that ended up in a goal, possibly in the third quarter. But, and if I can segue into just the stats from the game, this is painting a pretty dismal picture of our effort, our output. So -3 disposals, which was -16 kicks and +13 handballs. I reckon we over-handballed, and that's the first time I've said that for a really long time.
Yeah, I thought you too.
We were +25 contested, which...
Interesting.
We had to work hard for the footy, that's okay. -24 uncontested, and there were times, and you were commenting on it quite a bit, that it was just too easy off half-back. They were chipping it and chipping it and chipping it and chipping it. So don't mind to a point, because they weren't going anywhere, but then they all of a sudden did go somewhere, and we were still out of position.
Yep.
In the back
Which
50.
is a fascinating situation because we've had
got so much time. They did go coast to coast a few times too, which is concerning.
Yep.
-13 hit-outs, which resulted in -12 clearances, -3 centre, and -9 stoppage. And
just pause there.
It's been our biggest asset.
Like we've lost clearances to the bottom team
by 12
and hit-outs.
Look, hit-outs I don't mind because Sherry's a decent ruckman, but you're playing against a midfield of kids, and they should not... I mean, Davies Uniacke is a class bloke, I'll give him that, but otherwise, it's kids.
Yeah, it's Warlord and...
At some point, you've got to get on top of that.
Yeah. And like, as I said, Stuz had a bit of a shocker, I thought, and I thought we were missing, like, Parrish. He's the sort of guy who would have really just racked up possessions in that sort of game.
Now.
Yeah. He would have just worked his ass off, got to the ball, got to contest, tackled, stopped that hard work.
Yeah.
It was frustrating. And I think that it's really disappointing that we lost those stats. Like they're the stats we've hung our hats on in the last 3 or 4 games, that we've been winning clearances.
It's not just that we've been
and
good.
The question I have to you and the wider community is what's everyone's thoughts on Goldstein? I'm really interested in the future. Like he's 35, turns 36 next month.
Mm. And that's a 2-part question, right? So for the rest of this year, what do we do with him? And then 2025, what's
he's not playing again for us, is he?
Yeah. Well, rhetorical. I can't.
You know, we'll talk about this later. But the other point is that Nick Bryan is playing VFL again today, and he's going along all right. At what stage does he get a game? Like I don't understand. I get why Goldie was probably picked this week because it was North Melbourne, and maybe he gets that opportunity to play against his old team. That's fair enough.
At some point,
but next week we play Richmond, who just have come off a massive flogging. Nick Bryan has to come into that side and play.
Yeah.
Like,
fully agree. Fully agree with that. Yeah. Plus 24 inside 50s. It didn't feel like that. That is a number that we are winning pretty consistently by that sort of 15 to 25 range, probably more so the 15. But last week was plus 19. This week plus 24.
Probably didn't put enough of that on the scoreboard, did we?
Well, we spoke last week and said, well, we're third on the ladder, but there's still a lot of room for improvement, which in that position is a good place to be because you haven't reached your peak and you're third on the ladder. So you've got room to grow and room to improve. That's probably the next big step, is that turning those entries into scores, which will then have that 40-point win become 80 maybe, or whatever. All of a sudden that we're more effective, we're better, we'll put the foot down maybe. I don't know. Yeah. Footy's so much in the head and it really just looked like self-preservation.
It did, yeah.
I'm getting off track. Minus 14 marks, and again, that was those uncontested marks around the ground. We were plus 12 contested and plus 9 marks inside 50. So those two stats, the inside 50s and the marks, are painting that we did enough to win and be good. But for me, the issue is the hit-outs, the clearances, not so much the disposals, but the clearances in particular.
Yep.
Plus 13 tackles. Whatever. I really don't rate tackles as a stat. I don't know why I put it in there every week, to be honest with you.
Oh, it's usually can tell paint the picture of like if you're usually you're getting flogged when you're doing more tackles because you're tackling them because they got the ball all the time.
Yeah. And the last point, and I've deliberately left it
to last. Thank you.
Deliberately left this until last. Fuck. Equal free kicks. That might have changed, actually. I wrote that down late. But anyway, equal-ish free kicks. That was one of the worst umpired games of football that I've ever witnessed. And I hate talking about umpires because it's such a cop-out.
Nope.
North Melbourne kicked at least one. I'm sure there was more.
It was 2 or 3.
We should have had a free kick on the wing. It was a blatant holding the ball. Our bloke had a hold of his jumper. He had about 17 seconds to get rid of it. Didn't. Play on.
Well, the one for me was the ruck contest when Goldstein was blocked out of the contest.
Twice that happened.
Twice. The second one resulted in them going forward and kicking a goal with not much time left on the clock.
I can't understand.
I can't understand how the umpire doesn't see that. Like if the two ruckmen aren't standing and wrestling each other, the other one's on the ground. When you go, hang on, how's he got there?
It's so frustrating, and it's amplified when you're not playing well. I understand all that. It's not any reason for us playing poorly, but geez, it pisses you off.
Well, what seemed to happen was that it was like that was the first half that was going all against us. We were playing shit as well. Like again, nothing to do with it.
I'm careful not to blame him.
But then in the third quarter, we seemed to play better, and the umpire sort of went, "Oh, we better."
We got the square ups, didn't we?
We got a bunch of free kicks that we didn't deserve either. Like there was some where we go, "Well, that wasn't there, but we'll take it."
Bit
like,
soft, yeah.
It's like they looked at the count at half time and went, geez, we've been a bit too favourable. We better swing some back the other way.
And not to be a conspiracy theorist, that does happen a bit.
Oh, I'm sure they're aware of that sort of stuff. The booing, like when you start getting booed every time, or the Bronx cheers when we go. Oh, hang on, have I been not giving enough that way? Like what's going on?
Human nature. You'd hope they're above that a little bit, but the holding the ball in particular, and I commented on it last week that it was a frustrating thing.
It's like if you were to explain that to someone that was new to the sport, you go,
No.
Yeah, well, see that. Well,
and that one on the members' wing was
lot of
awful.
grey.
It was literally one of our guys had him by the shirt. He took about 5 or 6 more steps and still didn't get rid of it. He wasn't tackled at that point. He had free hands to dispose of the ball. And then there was an immediate follow-up tackle that could have been paid holding the ball. And then they went back into the middle and kicked a goal. And you just went... I can't. No, I can't articulate because I don't want to blame it. But geez, it gets on my fucking goat.
It was umpire week last week, so he can be shit at.
Yeah, no ball prick this week, which was nice at least. Bit of a square up comment. I do appreciate David Roden in goal.
Oh, wonderful man.
The smile, he's having a good time. I feel like I should say that. We're 20 minutes in and we've kind of discussed what we normally talk about in about an hour, to be honest.
Well, we did. We talked about this. So for anyone, I feel this will be a short one because we talked about this before. I said, I don't know what to talk about. Like, we were shit, but we won by 40 points and we're second on the ladder. I don't know how to. Like, we roll into Dreamtime next week. They're well out of form.
Yeah, aren't they?
Then we go to Gold Coast, who, they win. I think they won every game at home, and then Carlton. So I'm probably more focused on those 2 games on how we go than less so on the North Melbourne, who are bottom of the ladder, haven't won a game, and Richmond, who will be second bottom of the ladder, I assume, and have only won 1 game.
In a real bad spot, yeah.
In a real bad way, and their VFL got flogged and their seniors got flogged. I mean,
I think
you can't take a lot out of this, can you?
No. The best thing I can say for today is that we were genuinely in a position as supporters where we thought we could get done.
Sam, just for everyone.
Don't
talk about gambling.
Don't.
Sam threw a lot of money at the off the day.
Oh, not a lot. There's a little bit just to offset.
Millions.
Yeah, just to make myself feel better. But
and I respect what you did because I feel the same pain.
The frustrating thing of that is, though, we won and I'm still pissed off. Like, and I haven't won any money, and we won the game of football, and I'm still upset. It's worth the money every week to do that. By the way, I really don't have an issue with it. Gamble
responsibly.
I fully
support it. it's like mental stress relief. You know, like
at least if we lose, gamble responsibly. So play poorly, win against a team that would absolutely love beating us. They fucking hate us. I think.
Oh, I'd love to see how their supporters are going. Like, we could probably spend more time.
Can we talk about that one bloke in the crowd that was giving it heaps to Peter Wright when we were about 40 points up in the last quarter? Yeah. And he had a bit of a stab he missed. It was a shit kick. And he was giving him heaps. And we sat there, he was like, brother, you've won 1 game of football in the better part of 12 months. Do you really want to be giving it to someone who's missed a set shot?
And there was joy of him from the opposition. It was real,
yes.
Joy of the opposition's missed a set shot. I'm like, mate, that's not.
I guess that's all they've got. That's all they've got, really.
You've got problems.
I'm ultra aware with this rivalry that there is going to come a time when they go past us because of the sheer number of top 3 draft picks.
So far away. There's still a chance they could lose a few of them, let's be honest.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't mind Sheasel. We wanted him when we were looking at the draft that year.
Yeah.
Well, you wanted him and I echoed it. Let's do some votes.
Yep.
So I've actually got the supporter, the social post, the listener, that's the word I was looking for. Rhiannon Martin, second comment of the video said Essendon by 40.
Wow.
It often is like one of the first 3 comments that gets it. I don't know if there's a science behind that, but anyway. And she has responded, which is even better because it's all been a bit of a rush after the game. Merritt 1, Martin 2, Guelphy 3.
Merritt 1, Martin 2, Guelphy 3. Guelphy 3?
Guelphy 3. Look, again...
I have no problem with that.
Their prerogative to do the vote. I probably wouldn't have given Merritt a vote if I had to be...
no, he had some moments.
Comment
no doubt
on it.
That,
but, you know...
I think that goes back to that sort of we were talking about. Like, I think... there wasn't a clear good player out there.
And this is the thing about football that we love, is that we could all have very different opinions about the exact same thing. And that's totally okay.
Yeah, 100%.
So thank you for that, Rhiannon. We have done slightly different votes. So I've given 1 to Perkins, 2 to Peter Wright, and 3 to Caldwell.
No, I think I like your Peter Wright now more than mine. But
I did that with you and Langford last week. I was like, oh, yeah, probably should have given him 3.
Yeah,
Oops.
I think when you read out his stats, I went, oh, that's probably a 2.
You can change it. You haven't said them yet. We could just pretend.
Okay.
Oh, you change it because...
I'm changing it as I say it.
Okay, all right.
I'll give my 3 to Caldwell, 2 to Wright, and 1 to Perkins.
Right, so no votes for your boy Guelphy. Shock.
No, 1 to Guelphy. Sorry, only kidding.
So no Perkins, all right.
No Perkins, yeah.
All right. So Caldwell.
I thought Perkins was very good. I really liked his game.
So did I.
But I thought Guelphy was better, and Peter Wright deserves 2.
And
Caldwell for me was the best player on the ground for us.
Yes, I totally agree. You were in danger of getting a tattoo because you said last week if he kicks 5, and he was on track at one point there for 8.
He kicked 3-3, didn't he? In the end,
3-3. Yeah.
So,
and I'm shattered purely because I would have loved to have put the pressure on you to get a tattoo.
Yeah, a little Guelph tattoo on my butt cheek.
No,
is that where I would have went?
That's your call.
I'll get a face one.
God.
Okay, no, not going there. Yep, fair enough.
Wowzers. Look, no social content this week. We really had to get it recorded today, so just lack of time for the social posts. So,
what do you reckon the socials will be? We won, move on.
Yeah, look, with the how much do you think we'll win by? Or no, sorry, give us your tip. It wasn't how much do you think we'll win by. What do you think will happen? There's a lot of negativity. Just the standard. I want to say we'll win by 10 goals, but I think we'll win by 7 points. Like that kind of vibe. And I'm more filthy because I actually believe we would win comfortably this time. I believed we'd changed. And again, in 6 weeks' time, I might look back and think we had changed. North Melbourne might win next week. You know, I'm trying really hard.
North Melbourne play on next week. Yeah. No, I just think that we're second on the ladder. We've got a few more games to go. We'll see what happens.
I can't believe it's North play Port. Maybe not.
Oh, they were no. Well, actually, what's the result with the game at the moment?
It's in Tassie.
What's going on with Hawthorn and Port?
Wow. Okay, half time. It is 51-29 Hawthorn's way.
Well, there you go. Port flat track bullies.
We couldn't beat them.
No, but that's not the point.
Oops. Next week, then we play Richmond at the MCG. Dreamtime at the G. Richmond home game. If someone can get in the comments and explain to me why the Indigenous round goes over 2 rounds.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a genuine curiosity of mine. With no buys, like teams aren't missing out by having a buy or anything.
I was very confused at why all the clubs were in their Indigenous round and why it was Doug Nicholas round. And then we're playing the Dreamtime game next week.
It's 2 weeks of it, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's weird.
Anyway, so Richmond, who are coming off a 119-point loss to the Brisbane last night, and they are in absolute shambles. It's injuries just mounting up. Naismith's done an ACL today in their VFL. They got thumped in the VFL by 100 and something points again. So really stinking of the West Coast sort of regions. Well, the
draft picks. You're going to do that right. I mean, you fall quickly. You get the draft picks. You might climb quickly.
Yes, but I recognise with Richmond that the injuries are significant.
Oh.
And really, really mounting up to good players. So... again, it concerns me. I'm weirdly more calm about this game, and I hate North, and I think that's what contributes to playing against North. But I can't see a world unless they get 5 or 6 of their best players back.
Unless the occasion really gets to them and not to us.
Competitive. I watched them last night with some mates, and we've seen plenty of bad football in our time.
Yeah.
This was right up there.
I couldn't watch. I saw the score. I sat down to have a little squeeze at it, and I saw the scores and went, no, I'm not. I'll put a movie on, thanks. I'm not watching this rubbish.
The amount of space...
And I checked the score, and it was just, that's not worth watching.
The amount of space Brisbane players had in their forward 50 was diabolical. Like, anyway, I don't want to kick them too much while they're down because, as I say, they've got bloody good reasons.
I think they do that themselves at the moment.
Well, yeah. But if I had to give a tip, I'm going to, with chest and confidently say Essendon by 73. I'm going to do it again.
Yep, I'll go 60. It's
exactly what we said last week, I'm pretty sure.
Yep, well, this time should
I might have said 72.
So who would you be ins and outs?
Well, VFL is happening as we speak. It's 10 minutes into the fourth quarter, and we are up by 37 points.
Yep.
Funnily enough, they've been... Oh, there you go. We just kicked a goal. It's been more comfortable in the VFL than it was in the AFL, and North's VFL are actually okay.
Yeah, 13-7 to 5-12.
5-12, yeah, not great.
Kicking horribly there in that game, North.
Can I just say, I don't understand scheduling an AFL and a VFL game at the same time. It does nothing for us as fans to go and support our club in the way of going to a VFL game.
Oh, I don't get it either. But
just kick it off at 11, so it's done by our game. It's not.
I've questioned a lot of things in the AFL. This is one of the many, and I'd like to point out our boy Nick Bryan is on 22 disposals and 36 hit outs.
Bros on 127 dream team.
Yep. Pretty decent game from
2 goals
the big fella.
With that
2 goals. Well. Seriously, play him.
He's playing next week. I'm sorry.
Come on. How much longer does he have to be the best ruckman in the VFL?
So he is equal game high disposals at the moment, equal game high goals, 36 to 16 hit outs, and he is 30 points ahead of the next best fantasy.
And can you see clearances?
No, not where I look at.
13.
Oh, fuck. Back.
Which I'm going to, without guessing, game high. 13 clearances.
Yeah, 13 will get you most.
Come on, Essendon Football Club, pick him. Let the big Drapes the big Goldstein have a rest and pick this kid and play him with Peter Wright.
Yep, agreed. Wholly agree. Other players AFL listed that we need to talk about. Archie Roberts, 21 touches at present, 5 marks, 2
What about
tackles.
Ridley?
Well, Riddles was...
He's on 19
He might be managed because he was on 19 disposals at half-time, I reckon.
Well, I'd be more than happy if they'd rest him at half-time and said, have a rest. We'll play maybe a full game next week on the VFL.
Yep. Zach Reid, 15 touches, 6 marks, 4 tackles. Caddy, 1 goal, 1, 5 marks, 12 touches. Oh, there was one more I was looking for in amongst all that. Oh, my boy. Where's my boy? Hayes.
Nick Hayes, you didn't think who your boy was then, didn't you?
Well, we got so many of them.
He's not playing?
Very quiet game for Davey. Doesn't look like he's playing. No, he must have hurt himself.
Maybe he was dropped for...
No, bro, he's not getting dropped. VFL.
Lewis Hayes. There's Lewis Hayes, 39. He's had 11 disposals.
Great content. I've missed his name.
Lewis.
Oh, it's
Lewis.
Because they've all got zeros next to them, so it looked like Hayes. I just completely disregarded it.
Again, there's another fascinating thing I think is that there's no photos in the VFL one yet. They've got photos for them. Why not at least put the guys that got photos up? How come the AFL website can't put that effort in to their content? So fuck, we're not doing the photos in the VFL. Even though we got them, we could link you to it, but we're not doing it.
Nah.
Too much effort.
If I had to defend Hayes not seeing the game at all, Ridley might be in playing his role.
Yeah, Ridley might be dominating.
Is probably the right call from the coaches, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, that's fine. But so ins and outs.
Well, Durham rolled his ankle, but the commentary was saying that it's a cautious thing to get him off now and just make sure he's right for next week. So I'm going to assume he's playing. I will.
Here's the thing I would throw you. Even if it's a bit sore, I'd swap that for Parrish.
If he's not 100%, I'd cop that.
Yep.
I was about to say I'd assume Parrish would come back in, although the last time we had a bloke with a tight muscle, it was 6 weeks. So
hope not in my fantasy team.
And I'm also of the assumption that Big Cox will come back in as well. So I'll just reverse the changes that happened this week. So Sardis out, Cox in, Shield out, Parrish in. Happy with what you said if doesn't get up.
Yep. Do we play? Does Ridley play another VFL game?
Yep. Particularly if he's being managed, for
100%.
sure.
I agree. I think there's no rush. There's no point against Richmond. We should be. I don't like to be arrogant, but we should be able to beat them. And then we've got 2 big games in the Gold Coast and.
Carlton's the big one that we're really looking at.
And we need him for Carlton.
That's what we need to be. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's got to be super right for that.
I will 100% say Nick Bryan for Goldstein. Nothing against Goldie. He's 35. You just give him a break, give him a rest. Don't need to run him into the ground to the point where he gets injured. That would be pointless.
Yeah, well, with Draper out for 5 or 6, he just I would rest Goldie for 2 or 3.
And
seriously, let Draper, let Bryan run it through to nearly the bye round.
It's not an arrogance thing there. Nick Bryan is a more than capable ruckman to come in and
More
fill
than
that
capable,
spot. It's
yes.
not like you're resting a Peter Wright and replacing him with Nate Caddy. That would be an arrogant kind of swap.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is that I can't see Goldstein playing next year. He will be 36 next month. You can't play a 37-year-old ruckman next year. We've got Bryant, he is capable, and we've got now Vigo.
Yeah, there you go. Just leave it at Vigo.
Vigo, and he's your backup now. If something breaks, he just plays.
And just
I don't get having these 40-year-old guys in the team.
Ruckman are notoriously journeyman, not journeyman. Does journeyman mean same club, or they just go for a long time?
Go for a long time.
Yeah, okay. They swap. You know, we can, if we need to pick up a 33-year-old ruckman, I'm sure we'll find one somewhere.
Yeah.
If we need that depth. Or you take the punt on Goldie, whatever, if he feels up to it. But at some point, you are right.
But
Bryan
at some point,
has to take over.
What's the point of having Nick Bryan in the bloody team?
Well, that's what I mean. Bryan needs to be before him next year. That might be the thing.
Exactly. Otherwise, Nick Bryan will leave. He'll go to another club and probably get football.
Wouldn't blame him.
And then we're left with nothing. Then we're left with a 37-year-old and a 19-year-old. And that's not the situation we want to be in. We've got to show Nick Bryan some love.
Touch wood. I don't really remember Nick Bryan injuring himself.
No, touch wood. I agree with that. He has been very durable. I barely remember him missing VFL games. So he might be just that sort of guy. Just cracked over 130 fantasy points. He might be that guy that just, like Sauce at
Adelaide, Sammy Jacobs.
Adelaide, they just some ruckmen just tick along.
They just go. Which is why I'm cautious not to write Goldstein off too much as being a 36-year-old because
but
they can go.
It's not an injury issue with Goldie.
No,
it's more of a form. Like,
they can go a bit longer.
I don't think he's been a very good ruckman in the last 2 or 3 weeks. No. I think he was beaten this week.
He was beaten today. He was beaten for half a game last year.
His replacement. And you can understand why North were wanting to play Xeri over him. Because Zeri,
that was a new pronunciation I heard today.
That was new for us, yep. Yeah. I like to go with Xeri because it annoys Sam.
It's just funny. No, I like it. It's funny. Banter.
But he beat Goldstein today, and you can understand why North... See, this is the point I'm making, is that North made a decision last year that they went, no, Xeri's our future. He's a better player. Sorry, Goldie, you're being pushed to the rack. Now, if Goldie had to go up against Nick Bryant today, say Nick Bryant was the opposition, and Nick Bryant won, then which I think he would personally, then I would go, well, this is what Essendon's got to do. We've got to make the same decision
to make.
Yeah, we've got to say, no, Nick Bryant's the future. Sorry, Goldie, you're the backup. You're the guy when they're all injured and you can come out then.
It is a little bit more concerning as well now with Draper that the injury he had towards the end of last year, he didn't miss a lot of football, but he missed a lot of preseason.
Yeah, and
trying to get that right.
Is it back?
And now he's out for, we're not really sure what's going on, how long,
let's assume
regions. We can't afford to lose Bryant. And I think ultimately...
Is there a world where Sam Draper is actually not fit for is he a broken player that's just going to be broken for a long time?
You can't. That's a...
No, but this is the reality of what we don't know. That this injury could be something that the club goes, this is something that's quite serious. This is something where we can't get right.
What I will say is that previously, last year, we were worried about the players being rushed back. It hasn't happened this year.
We talked about Shield. It was great to see Shield back in the team after 3 weeks in the VFL and came in as a...
And my very natural reaction to Shield, which is polar opposite for what it used to be, was... Yay, Dill's back, because he played VFL, he went through the right channels, he got himself fit, and then he came in through need.
Yep.
He deserved his spot. So...
And he played well in the VFL. He had, good percentage, good possessions, good games.
So that leads me to hope or think that they'll do the same with Sammy Draper. We have a more than capable backup to Goldstein, so we don't have to rush with Sammy. But the situation at the end of the season will be more precarious because... Nick Bryan, I believe, is out of contract, and I don't think anyone could say to him, "You owe us." You need to stay.
If he leaves the club, I seriously think it's a massive.
Geelong would be throwing a boatload of money at him.
I reckon there'd be a few clubs. Really,
Geelong's the one that stands out because they don't have a ruckman.
Well, they do actually. They have a good young kid called Conrad, something like that.
Forward? I don't know.
No, this is another ruckman who never gets a game because they keep playing Reece Stanley, who's shit, seriously, and they just don't seem to want to play the kid. He's another one that I'm amazed that hangs around. But
Yeah,
I mean, who knows? The Western Bulldogs seriously could lose English to a WA club at the end of the year, and they would have no one because Sweet left last year, and there's not much. There's obviously Darcy, but he's been such a good forward that they can't just make him the number one ruckman. Anyway,
even Collingwood,
we're off on a trail.
Yeah, but even Collingwood, like they don't have a lot behind
Cameron and Cox.
I mean, it's Cox, but
Cox is getting old.
And Cox is older now. Yeah.
Yeah. So
he would be an attractive target as a young ruckman,
Yep,
but
I agree.
I assume if he leaves, it will be to play, not to play VFL. It would be play AFL.
Even if Perth don't like, I don't know. Even if Freo could, not Freo, West Coast could go after him.
Well, I reckon West Coast will be going.
If they don't get English or that, they'll be like, well, we need more ruckmen because the kids we got are just not good enough.
Yeah, interesting, and I think you need to reward the form. At the end of the day, he plays consistent, good football in the VFL, so reward it.
Yeah, he's going to have another game where he's had 20 odd touches, kicked 2 goals, and have nearly 40 hitouts. At some stage, you have to say, yeah, that you're coming in.
You deserve a game of football, sunshine. Yeah. Around the grounds quickly before we wrap up. It really is. We apologise. Well, I apologise because I feel a bit flat after a win, but emphasise the fact we need to be talking about how we play, not always just the results. This will puff your chest out. Gold Coast 164, defeating Geelong 100.
Did enjoy that.
164. That's a big boy score.
That's a big score.
Yeah, wowzers.
And they touched them like.
Yeah, well, I was surprised to see Geelong.
A bit like this next game, to be honest.
Sydney Carlton was very depressed when I checked the scores early, and Carlton kicked the first 4 goals. I was like, oh no. Oh no! And then
they only kicked like another 3, I think.
I'm very pleased to report Carlton are 10th. Don't really give a stuff about Sydney. They're the best team in the comp. That's fine. You can have that. Collingwood just getting the job done against Adelaide. So did I. I was very sad for them.
The worst thing you can do in a game against Collingwood is get in front before there's 30 seconds left.
Yeah.
If you do a 30 seconds, you've got a chance of winning.
There's a really good, in my opinion here, talking point with the Rankin running too far. Because they justified it with he ran 24 metres and it was a free kick, which is perfectly reasonable.
Yep.
But it falls into that category of that's never paid, and that's the issue with it. He didn't run that far. Players have run that far before and it's not paid a free kick.
Yep.
This is the issue I have with the rules in general, is that they'll tick that off because letter of the law.
Yeah,
it's right.
Yeah, I agree. And I still think that the whole issue I have with it is that, he might have ran too far, and if they hadn't blown the whistle, you still don't know what happened in that next contest. Like,
that's the other side of it.
They naturally wouldn't have marked the ball and kicked the goal because that's what they had to do. A point wouldn't have won the game from.
Yeah. I agree with that, but I think the frustration from fans comes from the fact that they tick that off, no worries, but then it's just not paid. And he did his hammy. Yeah, that sucks. Double whammy for Adelaide. Dogs, very inaccurate. Dogs destroyed.
Kept the Giants to 43 points, which is horrible. But it was a very wet game in the first half, sort of.
Again, I hate when teams we beat do that the next week because it took a little bit of
we want our wins to look a bit better, but now our win doesn't look that good.
My buoyancy went.
Hey, here's a little thank God we didn't get him.
Well, I want to open this. St Kilda 55, Fremantle 72. I would like to once again ask Ross Lyon how the vibes are going. Last week I said the vibes up here in third are pretty good. Well, Ross, the vibes up here in second are even better.
The ladder.
14th.
Oh.
And actually, live ladder, they would be 15th because technically speaking, Hawthorn are in front.
He's coaching exactly the same way as I remember coaching his whole career.
It is the most predictable thing ever, isn't it?
Defense. Oh, sorry, we can't score.
Doesn't matter that we can't score.
Kick 7 or 8 goals a game. Yep, that should be enough.
Yeah, and it just come out in the media and be like, oh yeah, the vibe wasn't right at Essendon. When in all reality, it was the fact that we wanted to go through a proper process and actually recruit a coach that aligned with our vision.
And now you're seeing why, because St Kilda are going to be stuck with him for another couple of years. And
they've gone backwards.
Oh,
they finished 6th last year, for Christ's sake.
That was under him, but they were
I know, but they've gone backwards.
Yep. And then yeah, anyway, I don't want to talk about them.
Okay, good. Yeah, Brisbane tore apart Richmond, as we've already said. So, and that takes us through to now. Halftime, Port Adelaide are losing to Hawthorn. But this is the recognition that you get as a good side. The expectation is Port will come back and win that. Yeah. And I would like to say,
especially at Adelaide Oval,
as a football club, that's where we need to get to.
Yeah. Whereas if that was us, I'd be out gardening.
I'd be putting money on Hawthorn, yeah. and then West Coast and Melbourne to play tonight. All right, I think we wrap. If you've made it this far, if you've even listened to the podcast this week, I honestly, it grinds my gears with this podcast that our listeners and our numbers are so dependent on the football team doing well. It's frustrating.
No, I understand that.
Because I feel like we've been building with the pod. The numbers have been good, and then this will tank because...
Yeah. But that's okay. I mean...
It's just me.
I think we all feel the same. I'd be surprised if anyone's like, yeah, unless you got lots of mates in North Melbourne. Yeah, I'd be sticking it up and saying your team is so shit.
You can't even beat us at about 25%.
Can't even beat us. Come on.
Yeah.
When we were ordinary for 3 quarters.
Very ordinary. All right, that'll do us. Dream time next week. Go Dons.
Go Bombers.